I'd like to call the July 9th informational meeting of the County Commissioners to order. Commissioner Elliott will lead us in the pledge and the invocation.
Heavenly Father, God, we come before you this morning and we ask for guidance. Father, we ask for wisdom that can only come from you from above. Father, we pray for our community. We pray for our nation. We pray for our state. Father, in the midst of this pandemic, Lord, we pray that, God, that you would lead, guide us, and direct us in all of our actions and all the decisions on the local level. Father, we thank you, God, for having the ability of freedom, Lord, that we could stand up and voice our opinions even when we don't agree. And Father, most of all, we thank you for your Son that you sent to die for us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome you to our meeting today and appreciate members of our community as well as our city council as well represented here today. Please register for public address if you are interested in speaking, if you haven't already done so. I'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. I'd like to, first of all, say that the library system has requested that a, quote, purchase of Henry Ledford long rifle be added to the consent agenda as agenda item 7S.
We got any detail on that?
Okay.
Yes, sir. It's at your place.
Yes, it's there in
Email
your,
was
in
sent
your
out, I
paperwork.
Okay.
Monday or
Mhm.
Tuesday.
Are there any other changes to the agenda?
Here,
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we approve the agenda, with the, as it has been corrected.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. Please cast your vote. Now, I'll say at this particular time, Commissioner Krotz is on his way. He will be here shortly.
And all of the votes are in, and that motion carries by a vote of 7-0.
Is there anyone registered to speak at public address?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have 10 folks signed up.
Okay, thank you. I'll start off by saying these, I'll call on these, and at the close, if we have additional time, Madam Clerk will have a few others to read that have come through the website and through email in the order in which they were received. Okay? First of all, let me call on Faith Schumann. Will you state your name?
Faith Schumann.
Okay.
You can pull it down a little bit.
You can, yeah, there you go.
I'm here to talk about the statue.
is the microphone on? I can't really hear it.
Okay.
That needs to take off.
Yeah, I know.
Hear it? Okay.
Now, you can take it off while you're talking.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm here to talk about the statue.
Okay.
This all started because me and two of my other friends were sitting in front of it on a hot day when a man approached us and told us that a white supremacist group would bring us harm if we bothered their statue, even though we didn't even notice it was there. The statue does not represent our city and the diversity that we carry here. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. It just brought out a lot of the hate that I didn't know that was in our town. We've been called many things, had racial slurs yelled at us from cars. And we never welcome to sleep on that.
That's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sedarian
I'm here to talk about the statue. As a local protester, being out there just about every day, seeing the statue, it does, like Faith said, it doesn't represent us as a people. It represents white supremacists. It represents hatred, and it represents oppression of my people. You know what I'm saying? The Confederate soldiers was not for my people. They was trying to keep my people in bondage. And every time when I look at that statue, that's what I have in the back of my mind. And I know my people, my brothers and sisters, be having that same mentality every time they see that, and our protesters. And every time we be out there protesting, like Faith said, we be having racial slurs, calling us the N-word, Ian Lover, go back to Africa. And you see, all of this needs to stop just because of this statue. This statue needs to be removed. Put it over there in the Confederacy cemetery where it belongs. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Elijah Laws.
Say my name.
Please.
Elijah Laws.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to the county commissioners and everyone else who took initiative to attend the meeting this morning expressing concerns of what is going on in Davidson County. Moving forward, I assure you it is critical to evaluate and raise awareness of the circumstances occurring in the city and the country. As I analyze what is occurring in our city, it deeply upsets me. What began as a peaceful protest in an attempt to remove the Confederate statue on Main Street has now become a disaster. What was once a peaceful protest has now been followed up with threats and acts of violence. What was once a peaceful protest is now resulting with individuals supporting this protest having targets put on their back. What began as a peaceful protest has now resulted in unusual cars driving by stalking people's homes. What began as a peaceful protest has now resulted in those of the opposing side bringing handguns and AKs into the same environment as our children and families with no remorse for aiming it in protesters' direction. I understand the removal of the Confederate monument was initially a fight for equality. However, look at where it has gotten us. The uproar about the monument has brought out the true threat to Lexington and is much more than a statue. This is now a threat to the public safety, and we need you to fulfill your duty as county commissioner to assist with adopting a resolution to this conflict that will assure safety for Davidson County citizens.
Thank you. Jamal, would you state your name, please?
Yes, ma'am. Jamal Taher Kelly. As many evenings as possible, I stand on the sidewalks in front of the historic Davidson County Courthouse in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the black community who are requesting that the Confederate soldier statue in Uptown Lexington be relocated. Many evenings, children stand alongside their parents and are subjected to obscene gestures and racial slurs. Individuals opposing statue relocation have attempted to intimidate both adults and children through verbal altercations, threats of violence, and by carrying weapons as a tactic to incite fear. These individuals, who hold hate in their hearts, attempt to anger protesters with their sharp words filled with poisonous venom. But we recognize that true change can only come through peaceful dialogue and at the voting booth. I stand before our county commissioners today requesting that one of you have the fortitude to fulfill your duty as elected public servants and add the resolution that will be passed on July 13th by our Lexington City Council to the next meeting's agenda and publicly discuss this Confederate monument, which has caused division and violence in the city of Lexington over the past few weeks. This has also impacted local businesses in Uptown Lexington, who desperately need positive financial growth to continue operating while the COVID-19 pandemic continues. Many of our commissioners have mentioned that statue relocation isn't possible due to state law. There are two exemptions in the general statute that allows for statue relocation. First, if there is fear of vandalism, then there's an exemption for preservation. Second, there's a public safety exemption. This would be the most viable exemption as the grounds for which this statue sits has been the stage for threats, verbal altercations, physical altercations, and has required City of Lexington police to patrol the area for hours during demonstrations, possibly delaying their time to respond to an urgent emergency. Our community is divided and hurting right now. I conclude with a biblical analogy that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King used in his final speech. He spoke of the Levite and priest who passed by a certain man who fell among thieves. But another man came along and showed compassion. He got down with him, administered first aid, and helped the man in need. Jesus said that this was the good man, this was the great man, because he had the capacity to project I into thou and to be concerned about his brother. Now, the first question that the Levite and priest asked was, if I stop to help this man, what will happen to me? But the Good Samaritan came by and asked, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? This morning, I ask each of our county commissioners and our county manager to ask themselves, if I do not stop to help this divided community, then what will happen to Davidson County and its people?
Thank you. Jason Hayes.
Good morning, thank you. And thanks to the folks that spoke this morning as well. So I remember in the early 1970s, when I would go up and visit my grandmother and grandfather up in Surrey County. I remember this one time when we were there. I was just a child, and the family was passing a letter around. And it was my great-great-grandfather's letter to my great-great-grandmother. He was a farmer in Surrey County, and he had decided to pick up arms and join the Civil War. I don't know if he did or did not own slaves. I later understood that the Civil War was really about Southern states' rights to continue to own human beings, and really an opportunity for white people to build wealth. Now, my great-great-grandfather must not have been a very good farmer, because I did not come from wealth. We were wrong. My family was wrong and on the wrong side of history. The Confederate statue uptown that has been discussed this morning was erected in 1905, some 40 years after the Civil War, and really was an effort to continue that same white supremacy. We were on the wrong side of history then. For the next half a century, we continued to maintain our white supremacy by not allowing people of color to drink from our water fountains, to eat in our restaurants, to live in our neighborhoods, or receive the same GI Bill that both of my grandfathers received and bettered themselves. We didn't allow people of color to vote or to go to our schools. Yet again, we continued to be on the wrong side of history. I even remember this same governing body. Some of you may have been here, some of you may not. Being on the wrong side of history when Davidson County was one of the last counties in North Carolina to recognize the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. You know, so many of these things are crystal clear as time passes. You really have an opportunity as a governing body, as elected officials, to be on the right side of history now. I'm a Davidson County and Lexington City citizens, and I'm asking for you and our city council to work together to remove the Confederate statue, a symbol of white supremacy and systemic racism that stands in our city square. Thank you.
Thank you. John Burke.
Good morning.
Good morning.
John Burke. Just want to clarify, these are my opinions only and not any organization I'm affiliated with. The day after the 1898 election, the Lexington Dispatch announced November 8th was a great day for white supremacy in North Carolina, and the Dispatch is proud to say that Davidson County gave a larger majority to the cause. The issue of white supremacy versus Negro domination and fusion extravagance has been fought to a finish and decided in favor of Anglo-Saxon supremacy, the Lexington Dispatch. This jubilee came after the Democratic Party chairman, Furnifold Simmons, developed a campaign based on white supremacy. Simmons summed up that strategy as, North Carolina is a white man's state. A white man will rule it, and they will crush the party of the Negro domination beneath a majority so overwhelming that no other party will ever dare attempt to establish Negro rule here. Statewide campaign. From November 1st to November 10th, 1898, the Wilmington insurrection took place after a select group of white supremacists, including Charles Aycock, incited a white mob to terrorize and shoot up black neighborhoods. Blacks happened to be the majority in Wilmington at the time, and burned businesses, resulting in dozens of black murders. Governor Charles Aycock gave a speech in 1903 on the Negro problem, stating, "I am proud of my state because there we have solved the Negro problem. We have taken him out of politics and thereby secured good government under any party." Our governor. A majority of Confederate statues in North Carolina were constructed during this campaign of white supremacy. On September 14, 1905, the Confederate statue in the Lexington area was unveiled by the Daughters of the Confederacy, whose officers included wives of many prominent businessmen in Lexington. Because we cannot separate the white supremacist message from this statue, it should be removed from the centerpiece of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tara Green.
Good morning, Tara Green, Lexington City Manager. This is not typically the elected body that I would address, but I am here due to the seriousness of this matter. And I'm really here to advocate for all citizens in Davidson County from a safety standpoint. This situation is very serious. It's very grave. I'm also here to advocate on behalf of those who are trying to do business, who are trying to patron our businesses uptown, and the distractions that are occurring. There are safety issues. There are businesses that are struggling. Both county and the city much need sales tax dollars right now. We know that our revenues are dropping to sustain our services in the midst of a pandemic, in the midst of an economic recession. We're on the verge of a depression, and we know that every dollar counts. And I am also here to advocate on behalf of public safety of our law enforcement officers. I do appreciate that Sheriff Simmons has been able to allocate some resources at times when he could. Our officers have not seen their families in weeks. Our budget is blown from an overtime standpoint. Someone is going to have to pick up that tab. And there are concerns for the harm's way that our officers are being put in every day and how they're trying to protect and serve and maintain peace and calm and order in Uptown Lexington. So I appeal to your leadership to help us move forward in a positive direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Kendrick Joby.
Morning.
Good morning.
I went to the middle school and the high school, Lexington. And you know, one thing that I didn't really ever knew going through high school and really college too, I went to ECU, is Martin Luther King was not only murdered for pushing peaceful protests. But his mom was murdered 6 years later, and his brother was found dead in water. They said that he drowned, even though he was a really good swimmer. I've been out there a couple times to protest, and I don't know, some of the things that I've seen, I knew that there was racism. There's racism everywhere, but some of the things I've seen from the city that I've, called home for so long has been pretty disappointing. And I think the statue is just a big source of that. I don't think it's going to fix all the problems locally, but I think it would help if it was removed, even if it was put across the street inside the old courthouse, That's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Tyrone Terry.
First of all, I'd like to say good morning to all of you. Now, we all have different opinions, but as a black man, what we see when we see that statue, we see brutality, we see murder, we see children being taken out of their parents' arms to never be seen again. This is what we see. It's a hurt that you can't feel if you haven't been there. And I've been there. I was marching in the 60s. It's 2020, and we're still going over the same things. I got shot uptown during the civil rights struggle. Here it is. 60 years later, I'm still going through this. This makes no sense. When you see us protesting, we're protesting for our ancestors and for our children. Now, you take a place like Germany. You go to Germany, you don't see statues of Hitler. You go to Italy, you don't see statues of Mussolini. You go to Japan, you don't see statues of Tojo. This is America. Why do we still have love for a group of people who wanted to keep other people as slaves? This is America. We shouldn't be like that. You go to Russia, yeah, you see statues of Stalin. Libya, when Muammar Gaddafi, when he was alive, you see statues of him. Turkey, same thing. All of these dictators, you see statues of them in their countries. This country is not run by dictators. It's run by people. People who should have feelings for other people's feelings. I got two sons. For an example, myself and my oldest son, we love spinach. I had another son, he hated spinach. Did I force him to eat it just because I liked it and my other son liked it? No. We compromised. And that's what this should be about. A guy came up to the statue a couple of weeks ago, and he volunteered to tear that statue down right then and there. But the big protesters, you know what we told him? No, that's not the right way. That's what we told him. We haven't been up there to cause problems. We've been up there, hopefully, to solve a solution. This is Davidson County. All the other counties are making moves that look progressive. We're still looking like we're in the 30s and 40s. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. At some point in time, we're going to have to move on. There's probably economic reasons that a lot of companies don't move here. And those economic reasons would help all citizens. Nobody's asking you to tear the statue down. Just move it. You move it, everybody's happy. You find a place that you like, we're happy, you're happy. It just seems there should be some compromise instead of still arguing about the same things that I was arguing about 60 years ago. We got to move on somewhere along the line. Thank you.
Thank you. Latasha Burke Knight.
Good morning. Latasha Barknight. I had a speech plan, but after watching the reactions on faces, I think I'm gonna go somewhere else with this. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I would like to say that on June the 7th, my daughter organized a very peaceful march, and I walked alongside with my friend Mark Sink, the police chief. Behind me was the city manager and our mayor. It was peaceful. Most thought that it would not be, but our intention was to be peaceful in light of what happened to George Floyd. We wanted the community to know that that the black community stood with our police department, and we wanted to be together. Most people didn't think it was going to be peaceful, but as you know, it was. And I'm not sure if any one of you came or not, but it was very peaceful. But as we walked down Main Street, when we got to the square, there stood the Confederate statue as a very standing tall, big reminder, visible reminder that of the racial inequalities that still exist here in Davidson County. And down East Center Street, or West Center Street, East Center Street, was the fire truck that the fire department had displayed the unity sign on. Still standing tall was the Confederate statue. So I see that some people in Davidson County, they want unity, and it's still that divide. So I'm asking the city commission, or county commissioners, hopefully you're not the ones that's continue to have the divide. Most citizens, we want to be together. Even the people that's been out there, some of the people that's at the Confederate statue, they're Christians just like the rest of us. We need to come together and have a resolution about what can happen. If we have these, we need to have uncomfortable conversations, because a lot of you guys, I can see, some of you are getting shut down by just some things that people are saying, but everybody wants what they want. And heritage or hate, whatever you feel like the Confederate statue is, that's just your opinion. It is a part of history, okay? It is. Some people may not like the part of history that it is, but it is history. And we all agree that maybe it should go somewhere else, but some agree that this should not be on display downtown Main Street. So I would love to sit down and talk to you guys in another setting to maybe have some uncomfortable decisions, or uncomfortable conversations, so we can come to a resolution that will be good for everybody, for all the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
This is the first public comment that we received, and it was received via email. Dear Mayor Clark, Lexington City Council members, and Commissioners of Davidson County, we, the citizens of Lexington, formally demand the immediate removal of the Confederate monument currently located in the town square of the city of Lexington and Davidson County. Since its erection in 1905, the monument has stood as a symbol of treason, exclusion, and brutality towards people of color in Lexington. In the wake of continued violence towards black lives across the country in cities not distant from Lexington's history and demographics, Confederate imagery communicates messages grounded in white supremacy, bigotry, and veiled racism. These are not the values we want displayed on a pedestal. For decades, the monument has reminded the black community of Lexington of the bloodstained legacy of the Confederacy and the persistent injustices that have plagued this city ever since. The inscription's proximity to Jim Crow marks a pattern of discrimination towards minority communities by citizens and the city itself. We ask that the city and the county, in the spirit of repair and healing, to stand with its minority population in a historic gesture of the monument's removal. Our demand is not a historical erasure. We do not wish for this community to forget its history, nor do we seek to shy away from the complicated relationship this area has to racial injustice. But keeping history is different from honoring it. A monument, by definition, honors the cause it features. This fallen cause, as inscribed on the granite itself, is one which hinges on the enslavement of people who now represent a third of our city's demographic. We are proud of this city's diversity and that such a large portion of those who call Lexington home are people of color. Our school system notably features representative diversity that enriches our town and its future. These are citizens who have overwhelmingly opposed the monument's current standing as a focal point of our town. There are citizens whose voices deserve to be actively heard, seriously considered, and respected. We are aware of the 2015 North Carolina legislation barring the removal of objects of remembrance from public property. However, in the name of public safety and the well-being of our citizens, we contend the city can and should move forward with the process of removal. In the past year, North Carolina local bodies in Winston-Salem and Chatham County safely removed Confederate monuments, and we look to those municipalities as models for a safe and legal removal. In a given year, hundreds of thousands walk through our town square, many of whom are children. What they see reflects the kind of community that lives here and the type of model we want our citizens to emulate. As an agent of public trust, the City of Lexington is responsible for forging a future in which all are welcome to live and thrive in this town we call home. The removal of this monument is one essential step into fulfilling such a vision. The next comment was received through the web portal. And this is from Tommy Leonard, and the comment is, keep Confederate statue where it is at. The next comment is from Frankie and Buddy Hedrick. It says, as native citizens of Davidson County, we implore you to remove the statue of the Confederate soldier from downtown Lexington. It is a symbol of exclusion and hatred that does not embrace the diversity that we should be celebrating in our community. The statue does not and never has symbolized our Southern heritage. We need to present Lexington, Davidson County as welcoming, safe places to live, work, and worship. Please do what is morally right. Remove the statue. The next comment is from Colin Beamer. I write you all as a former citizen and concerned North Carolinian to implore the board to remove the Confederate statue in the square at Main Street and Center Street in downtown. Davidson County has a complex past and contemporary perpetuation of systemic racism. Many of these systems still exist today, ensuring a better quality of life for white people as opposed to their black and brown counterparts. Davidson County continues as one of only 4 counties with separated city-county school systems, a direct response to federally mandated desegregation, creating functional splinter districts which similar to those outlined in Wright v. Council of City of Emporia in 2013. Researchers from Duke University ranked Davidson County as having the second most racially segregated school systems in North Carolina. Our churches are segregated. Our public services are segregated. Our neighborhoods are segregated. What was once a system of overly racist policies and practices has transformed into a culture of sinister, covert oppression. This culture of perpetuating racism extends to our symbolism too. Confederate statues were erected to intimidate people of color and romanticize the false lost cause narrative, framing the enslavement of millions of Africans as noble and just. It is time for our county to confront this awful truth once and for all. We cannot heal until the rotting bandage of our past is ripped off its festering wound, air the injustice, cauterize the white supremacy, scrape out their ignorance, tear down this symbol of hatred. It belongs to none of us. It belongs somewhere unseen. And
that concludes it.
Madam Chair, that is our 30 minutes. And there is a stack, and they will be included with the minutes from the meeting.
Okay,
when they're
thank you.
approved.
Madam Chair, if I may have a moment, please.
Yes, sir.
And I want to start off by saying I appreciate all of you folks being here this morning to take time out to come address the board. Chief Sink and Ms. Green, I respect you all immensely in your positions you hold in the city. Worked with you all a lot over the years and got a good working relationship. But I do want to have I've got a brief statement prepared to address an email notification about the threat to public safety that was sent by the city. I'd just like to read that if I can for the record, Madam.
Yes, sir.
City of Lexington informed Davidson County on July 2nd, 2020 that the city claims that the Confederate monument in Lexington poses a threat to public safety. The email notification provided by the city does not specify the nature or condition of the monument that makes it unsafe or dangerous. Further, the notification does not indicate what action, if any, the city has taken to protect public safety and private property. If by threat to public safety the city is referring to the current protest downtown, then the city might consider declaring a curfew. This was an option the city utilized during the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. As always, Davidson County's #1 priority is the safety and well-being of our citizens. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item number 7, our consent agenda. Are there any items to remove from the consent agenda for discussion? Hearing none, may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Please cast your vote.
Thank you. All of the votes are in. And that motion carries 7-0.
Item number 8, items for decision and deliberation. First of all, I have a proclamation. This month is the Child Support Awareness Month, and I believe our attorney is bringing in Mike Newby and Miss Trish. I have the proclamation. When I get finished with the proclamation, if y'all will join me at the front, okay? This is Child Support Awareness Month. Whereas children are entitled to financial support from their parents, and the Davidson County Child Support Enforcement Program continues to improve child support collections. And whereas Davidson County Child Support Services is dedicated to serving families and children throughout the state. And whereas in fiscal year 2018 through 19, $12,991,559.06 in child support was collected from non-custodial parents of Davidson County children. And whereas there are over 6,000 support orders in place to ensure that these children receive financial support from their parents. And whereas Davidson County Child Support Enforcement staff continues to be one of the top performing programs in the entire state of North Carolina. And whereas children who do not receive adequate financial and emotional support from their parents may experience greater difficulty in becoming healthy, happy, and productive citizens. And whereas many concerned and dedicated child support professionals, judges, sheriff's personnel, clerk of court staff, and legal personnel work to establish and enforce child support for Davidson County children, now therefore the Davidson County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim August 2020 as Child Support Awareness Month and commend its observance to the citizens of Davidson County this, the 9th day of July 2020. Y'all will join me.
Need a motion.
May I have a motion and a second to adopt this proclamation?
Motion.
A motion and second. Please cast your vote.
Who made the second? Thank you.
Steve. Yeah. And I think Trish and Mike would both like to comment, if you will.
Got his Spider-Man mask on.
This is my court mask.
I voted 7-0.
Thank you. Thank you, dear.
I did want to say something because of, as far as child support, I'm the oldest rat in the barn. I've done this for majority of my long and not so illustrious legal career. But I will say that this organization, the child support folks that I work with are the very best I've ever worked with. And I have had the honor and the privilege to work other places with a lot of good child support workers. This has been a tremendously challenging year to these folks. We've been understaffed the entire year. These figures, and the state evaluates programs on 5 criteria, and this year we met all our criteria. And there are probably a handful at best of agencies in the state that did, and it happened because the workers and their supervisors refused to quit. And you and the citizens of Davidson County don't realize how blessed they are with the group that they have working.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
So I haven't been here that long, but I will echo what Mike said. We have a great child support team. They are hardworking. They're dedicated. In fact, they're in court, getting ready to go to court today. They have done a remarkable job during COVID. We have continued to maintain our high level of collection, and they are working with the non-custodial parents and parents' attorneys to get consent so that we can expedite court matters. They have developed a state-of-the-art procedure for court to get those folks in and out. I think we've probably got a model for the state to follow. They're doing screening and having people go out to their cars to wait to be called back in. So even despite COVID and all the issues that come with that, staff have really stepped up. We do have a great staff, but we could not do it without our attorney. So I want to give him some accolades too. He may have been around a while, but he is top dog, not just older dog. So I just thank y'all. We do have a great team, and I think that's reflected in the data Mike shared.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Appreciate it.
I think you guys do a great job, but you can only do what you can do. And when we look at kids throughout our communities that don't have, because some sorry dad or mom don't do what they're supposed to do, why has our courts not been harder on these people to assist you in obtaining what your goal is, and that is the betterment of that child and the welfare of that child? That's how we decrease crime. That's how we decrease drug usage. It's by making a better young person and creating opportunities for that young person. But it seems we arrest these people for child support. They may owe $13,000. And some judge says, well, give me $300 and go on your way. Well, I understand they can't make money while they're in jail, but there's got to be a better solution as to how we make parents be parents. These kids deserve their parents. They deserve when they come home from school saying, no, you made a D, you failed that, that's not acceptable, instead of, well, do the best you can. You know, they need guidance, and you got to have the money to provide the needs of that child. And while you guys do a superb job, why is it not on the other end? Why do we keep talking about it, but nobody takes the initiative to do anything about helping these children?
So I can't speak to the judges. Obviously, they are their own elected body, and they do look at our financial assessment of what the parent can provide, and sometimes $300 may be all they can provide. And rather than the county supporting a person in jail and costing the county even more money, the judges release them. So it's not always about that the judge just asks for, $50 or $300 when there's huge amounts owed. It is also about that the person doesn't have that money. And so I agree there are times where folks make bad decisions and don't pay their support, but there are also times where the only decision they have is there is no money, and so the child does not get what it needs.
And that's pretty much my point. The child's the last person on the totem pole.
Right, but...
And you can deny that.
No,
but we talk about it, but nothing ever changes.
Well, and that is legislation. I mean, if the absent parent, the non-custodial parent has no income, there's really nothing to get. So, I hear what you're saying, but sometimes there is nothing. And so what do you do then? The parent could languish in jail and, again, use tax.
I don't think that's a solution either.
No, and I agree.
Options out there. Nobody sat at the table and took the time to work out something.
there could be options, but again, it has to be legislated, I believe, because, you know, there a work plan? There could be plenty of things that you work off, you know, you pay your debt through, but we don't have that, and so that's not, we use the laws we have, and our attorney does the best he can, and I'll let Mike speak
Yeah, I'm not
to that
saying,
too,
I'm not
but-
saying you guys do. I think y'all do a tremendous job, but you have your function. And it seems like you're being let down because the other side's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, legislatively and judicially. You know, I just think there's a better option out there for these kids. And so people want to say, well, we got this, we're making excuses for these things. Instead of sitting down at the table, let's fix this problem. Because it's gone on way too long and we continue to make excuses for the judicial system. And it's a breakdown there. And it's also a breakdown between the legislature and our judicial system. Not talking about you guys, and I support this proclamation, but somebody has to start standing up for these kids.
I agree, and I would love if you took your passion and talked to our representatives and our senators to help move the legislation forward, because I think you're right, there are some opportunities, but it's not something that we can control right now in this environment.
Well, I know it's beyond what y'all can do. I do know that. I do know that. But you people are in the best position to put the pressure where it needs to be. And this is what we're short of. This is what we need, and this is what we're not getting to help these kids.
Well, actually, that's one thing about being older is you've seen a lot of things. And when I came up in the practice of law, it started out, DWIs used to be a joke. And there was a group of little ladies, mad, mothers against drunk driving. And when you started seeing those little ladies sitting in court to hear all the DWI trials, it's amazing what that group did as far as changing the attitudes of the judiciary about DWIs. And
I remember that. You're right.
If there was something where the people decided that they were going to make people more accountable about it, supporting their children, and they would demand accountability from the judiciary, that would change things. But until the people make that decision, it's not going to change things, because I don't want to belabor the point. I know you guys got other things to do, but the law is against collecting child support. The law that's been promulgated by the courts and the officials in Raleigh and the officials in Washington are against performance. Everything has happened in the pendulum swung years ago, and slowly but surely they've made this job much more difficult than it used to be.
I agree.
And that's one reason that I am so in awe of the workers that you have, because they go out there every day. They've changed things numerous times and to get the best results that they could get. But the law is against us right now.
Yep.
But there's always hope. And like I said, Mothers Against Drunk Driving changed the attitude of judiciary and some of the laws about drunk driving and how those cases were prosecuted and how those cases were adjudicated. And that could happen again, but it requires a people's movement rather than.
I can see that, because a lot of people are unaware this problem exists. You know, they're so busy with trying to raise a family and provide a roof over their head and educate their kids. You know, that a lot of people who are in a position to try to come together and make a difference don't have time.
Well, most people don't like this topic because it shows the bad side of humanity, that people would have children and then abandon them. And as judges hate this court.
Regardless of the reason.
As long as I've done this, I've maybe met 2 judges that like child support. One of them was an ex-child support lawyer. But they don't like to see humanity this way. You can get in trouble and go to criminal court by accident. Good people commit crimes. Things happen.
Right.
But you have to try to get to child support court. It's a process. You don't get there in one day. But thank you
Thank
for
you.
your comments.
Thank you, Mike.
And I've got your proclamation as well. Debbie, are you taking pictures these days? If y'all would just come.
Mike definitely needs to be in that picture.
No, you do too. Come on up here, and I'll let, well, I thought we just all just.
We
I
can't
know.
get that.
Can't we just, yeah. Okay.
We need to stand up or what?
Yeah, why don't you all just stand up and and you can just hold the there you go, and I think she can get a good picture.
Thanks
Thank
again.
y'all again so much. Okay, our next item is, Mr. Smith is going to lead off a nonprofit and small business PPE grant update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna ask Tim Manus, our budget management analyst for the county, to come up to the microphone just in case I need him. You guys know you all approved as part of the CRF money to run a small business and nonprofit PPE grant, basically. And I think you've all got a spreadsheet here in front of you and a little table in the item there that summarizes this a little bit, that gives you a glimpse into, we ran it for middle of June to the end of June, stopped the applications, did a count, and there's what you've got in front of you. About $70,000 has been awarded. There were some agencies that didn't make it because they had too many employees per the rules, et cetera. And it's about a 50-50 split in terms of businesses versus nonprofit, as you can see there. I don't know that the word got out. I mean, we did a video. We tried to get it out as best we could. What I'm asking the board this morning is for approval, or is there the will, let's go ahead and do a second round of this program. Except this time, instead of 50 employees, let's up it to 100. And Tim's my expert on this. He used to work in Davidson Works. 200 is too many, or is 100 about right?
I think either one's fine. If you do 200, that's still classified as a small business by the Small Business Administration.
200 it is. Answer your question here. Why would you penalize them for having more employees?
Well, I mean, we tried to target small businesses because you didn't want the bigger businesses to monopolize and have,
The bigger businesses are not struggling too, so.
I think so I didn't mean to speak over you, sir. I was just going to say, I think we'd be fine to open it up because quite honestly, some of the larger businesses, 500 plus, that's just a handful in this county. So even if they applied, that would be a small amount.
You sure don't want to lose any businesses. You know, I know this $5,000 probably not going to keep them from shutting their doors if that happens, but I just don't understand why you penalize somebody for having more employees.
I mean, I don't know that there was a rhyme and reason that we just started at small business, tried to do Main Street businesses, because a lot of it was we wanted businesses right up here in the downtown area to have, not get overrun by the bigger businesses. But if it's something, if you guys want to open it up, we can open it up and try it. I want to do it again where I run another 2 weeks and stop, because now Tim's in the middle of actually paying the first round out. The process is going pretty good. Everybody submitted what they were supposed to, but we're getting receipts in now. Once we get those out, those checks will go out to those first round of folks. We'll get pictures so we can give it to the federal government and have it all nice and audited and ready to go. So now let's go into the second round, if that's okay with you all. We'll run it we start it Monday and run it 2 weeks. And
You know, I think a small business is 500 and down is what they actually consider a
That's
small
right.
business.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes, so.
Did we have a lot more apply than was awarded, or?
We had, looks like we had 3 again at the bottom. That probably, some of them were booted out because, again, I think these 3 had too many employees. We had a 50 employee limit, and you can see the numbers there to the right, so they were booted out. These folks could reapply in the second round now.
And we will notify them.
Mr. Yates, would you like to do a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we approve this, new round of, PPE grants and, to, amend, I don't know if it's been amended, but if that's the correct word, to 500 employees or less. And I get the small business, because I'm one of them, but again, we need to help all of our businesses here if we can, so there's my motion.
I'll second.
Is this for small businesses only?
Again, the definition of a small business in terms of the federal government, Tim and Mr. Yates know better than I do, if it's 500 or less according to the federal government, that's the technical definition. I think we just started small, because we didn't know who was going to apply, how much overrun
What is
we
this
would
Welcome
be.
Athletic Boosters Association? What is the Welcome Athletic Boosters Association?
One of the booster clubs.
Nonprofit.
Yeah.
It's for nonprofits too.
One we had to file for?
Yes, sir.
And I'm okay doing it with any business, and, you know, really, I'll, retract my motion and make it for any business in Davidson County, no matter the size. Because we got some that's probably over 500 employees that could really use the money. Their business has been affected, by this COVID. So, I'll amend my motion to any business in Davidson County.
Mr. Elliott, do you still,
Yes.
are you still
Yeah,
on
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor? Please cast your vote.
Put my second in.
I agree that, you know, the word may not have gotten out, so this is a good step, I think.
I think we're make sure all our communities are aware of this too.
We did a good campaign job first time, but you know how it is. It just takes time. Of course, everybody's trying to open up, and then, of course, the state doesn't move out of phase 2, so there's been some moving around. But as things start to open up, they're going to need the PPEs, and this is helping hopefully protect everybody.
But it's only them, they have to sit down at the computer and open up that site and look to see what's offered.
Right.
You know, because you can't get the word to every single individual in the county or business in the county. They need to open it up and take it on themselves to research and see what is available out there.
Yeah, Tim does a good job with them. They've called him over the last few weeks, and he works with them individually on case-by-case basis. If they've got questions, things they need to submit, you know, he helps them through it, because there's a process. You got to give us certain things to show us you qualify. So
His experience with workforce helps.
Yeah. But I'll give you an example. We had an issue the other day where, you know, a church wanted PPE to apply. You know, we had to go research federal law with this COVID-19 money that, you know, in typical situation in the past, you can't do that with federal money. With this legislation, you can. And so we got confirmation from the state on that as well. So again, it's having to sit down, research the questions. You know, Tim's initial instinct was you can't do that, but after doing a little legwork, you can. So, I mean, because in the churches, they've got, it's not putting federal money toward the worship part of it, it's the protection of folks going to do the worship. So I think that's the distinction, and again, we learned something as well. So.
And we've had a couple of folks call since it closed, and we've just told them, give it a week, calls back. So I think the word has gotten out a little bit more, and they're just now finding out about it. So we've got folks that we're telling to call back because they want to apply for the next round. So.
Will the requirements change from what you call a small business to any business, or would it be the same? Or
Yeah, we'll probably have to change the name, or if we go into 500, we'll adjust the.
No, what I meant is the requirements to get this.
No, those are good. Those are good requirements, no matter what size. The size of the business makes no difference. Getting the receipts, whether you're in good standing with state in terms of commerce, you got a W-9. All those things have to be in place no matter what. So I don't think we'll have to change anything.
Okay. But if you got 10 employees, you got to keep 10 employees, or can you drop it down when you want to, or?
Well, if we're going to do 0 to 5, then you're covered. But I mean 0 to 500, then you're covered. But if you're at the time of the application, is kind of what we're looking at. And then we're going to go, what we all decided, and of course, now that this thing's evolving with this CRF money, we get more guidance from the state every week on this. We're going to end up going out and getting pictures, to make sure that these things are put in, et cetera, so we can pass it along to the federal government.
You're doing.
And I will say, on behalf of the 19 folks that were approved, they thank y'all. I got thank yous, and I said, don't thank me, thank everyone that was involved in this, so they thank everyone. I do have a list of folks that I'll reach out to today that are on a waiting list, if you will. They're not going to call us, I'll call them and let them know how to proceed, because I think we probably have 4 or 5 that would immediately be eligible. And we're also going to push this. We've worked with, but we're going to work a little bit more with our workforce board. They're going to do some boots on the ground and get out there and pass out flyers and give information and lend support. And there'll be a little bit available for technical support if folks are a little confused on the process or need some help. There'll be another set of eyes and ears to help us out.
That's great. Thank you so much. Do I have a motion second to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.